A mammoth cub is confused. She has gotten separated from her mother. She wanders aimlessly through the Siberian tundra before an unfortunate accident found her submerged under a deep mass of mud. She did not resurface. She was born on a late spring day in Siberia, about 42,000 years ago, and survived for just 35 days before her accident. Her story is a sad one, but the same frosty mud that led to her demise also contained the right combination of acid-forming bacteria and permafrost that allowed the baby mammoth's body to become one of the best preserved mammoth specimens in the world. Mammoths are arguably the most well-known of the Ice Age megafauna. They have been ingrained in human consciousness as we have lived alongside them for millennia. We hunted and revered them as they provided sustenance, clothing, and even shelter for our prehistoric ancestors. Another reason is that their habitat was ideal for the preservation of carcasses. This has led to some amazing finds, such as Lyuba, and has captured the imagination of scientists and the public alike. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. The Ice Age, also known as the Pleistocene era, is not very far into the past, but in terms of animals, there was a massive diversity of megafauna in comparison to today. Today's video will focus on 5 Ice Age megafauna that may not get as much of the spotlight as the woolly mammoth, but I still feel they deserve some recognition. If you learned something new, or if you have any further insights, please let me know in the comments, as I'm always interested to learn more too. Let's get started. Number 1. Megalania. Today the largest lizard on Earth is the Komodo dragon. It is an imposing apex predator with a venomous bite, certainly not something to be messed with. Megalania could be described as a Komodo dragon on steroids. While the Komodo dragon weighs around 70 kgs, Megalania weighed between 97 and 1,940 kgs. These estimates vary widely due to the fact that our fossil findings have been very sporadic and fragmentary. If we just take the middle estimate though, these massive creatures would weigh at least 10 times as much as their modern cousins, a frightening prospect. These monsters were native to the continent of Australia. It is also speculated that they may have had venomous glands in their mouth. The venom in these lizards would have been a hemotoxin. This venom would act as an anticoagulant and would greatly increase the bleeding the prey received from its wounds. Remains of Megalania have often been found with fossils of large animals like kangaroos, suggesting that they would have specialized in taking large prey. What's also interesting is that the youngest fossils found of this creature date back to around 50,000 BC, which would mean they would have spent quite some time living alongside our ancestors who arrived on the continent at around 65,000 BC. This is very telling, and it may not be a coincidence that Megalania went extinct relatively shortly after our arrival. After thousands of years of competing with us, it would have shared our prey animals and even would have been hunted by these early human settlers. They would have had no natural defenses against us, as humans were basically an invasive species. Slowly but surely, the human population increased and the Megalania population dwindled. Other factors such as climate change are also proposed as to their demise, and it could be a combination of many things. Still, it would have been awesome to see Megalania in the flesh, at a safe distance of course. Number 2. Giant Bison. Bison latifrons, also known as the giant bison or long-horned bison, is an extinct species of bison that lived in North America during the Pleistocene epoch, ranging from Alaska to Mexico. It was the largest and heaviest bovid to ever live in North America. Based on leg bones, the mass of the giant bison is estimated to be 25 to 50% larger than that of the modern bison. It evolved from another type of bison named Bison priscus. B. priscus originated in Eurasia and crossed the Bering Land Bridge between 240,000 and 220,000 years ago. The horns of the giant bison measured as great as 213 centimeters from tip to tip, compared with an average of 78 centimeters in modern bison. As you can see, these horns are monstrously large. This animal certainly lives up to its name. It thrived in North America for around 200,000 years, grazing in biomes from grassy plains to tundra. It became extinct some 20 to 30,000 years ago, at the beginning of the last glacial maximum. This is not the end of the species, however, as a population of giant bison evolved into a smaller bison named Bison antiquus, which made it better adapted to flourish in the open plains. B. antiquus in turn evolved into yet the smaller modern American bison some 10,000 years ago. Decreasing in size caused bison to continue increasing in population in North America until the Europeans arrived. Still, it's not often that one of these Ice Age beasts adapted and survived to the modern day, which is why the giant bison definitely deserves a place on this list. Number 3. Paleoloxodon pneumaticus. As I mentioned earlier, I would not be speaking about mammoths or any other very well-known Ice Age giants on this list. Mammoths were not the only extinct cousins of elephants to roam during this time, however, and Paleoloxodon most definitely deserves a mention. Paleoloxodon is an extinct genus that contains the various species of straight-tusked elephants. The genus originated in Africa during the Pliocene era and expanded into Eurasia during the Pleistocene era. Paleoloxodon pneumaticus, or the Asian straight-tusked elephant, was a species of prehistoric elephant that ranged throughout Pleistocene Asia, from India to Japan. Growing up, I had always been under the impression that Indrocaterium, a cousin of the modern-day rhino, was the largest land mammal to ever live. While this still may be the case, the topic is debated as to whether it might have been Paleoloxodon pneumaticus. Its behaviour would have been very similar to modern Asian elephants, just on a larger scale. Its bulk would ensure that a healthy adult animal would be under no threat from the apex predators of the time, although they may have been hunted by some hominid species sharing their territory. It's theorized that these enormous animals would simply flatten patches of jungle in order to easily reach its preferred vegetation. The last of the large Paleoloxodons survived up until around 30,000 years ago, with the Japanese population possibly living a little bit longer. The Paleoloxodon genus did not die out completely, however. In an interesting twist of fate, a population made their way to the island of Sicily in the Mediterranean Sea. There they experienced what is known as island dwarfism, and evolved into the Sicilian dwarf elephant, the smallest known elephant discovered. They survived until around 3,000 years ago, and it is surmised that humans arriving on the island hunted them to extinction. I find it fascinating that Paleoloxodons were both the largest and smallest elephants and possibly the largest mammals to ever walk the earth. Number 4. Glyptodon. The Americas during the Pleistocene were a hotbed for Ice Age megafauna. Besides the more well-known direwolf or short-faced bear, there were many plant eaters who would not look out of place among the dinosaurs. The Glyptodon was one such creature. It was roughly the same size and weight as a Volkswagen Beetle, around 800 to 840 kgs. Glyptodons originated in South America, but also migrated north as far as Central America. The environments they lived in ranged from forested areas to warm and humid jungle, while some even became more accustomed to open, cold areas where grasslands were the most common. From looking at it, its appearance is akin to a giant armadillo with a bony club of a tail. You could definitely make a case for convergent evolution here though, as I can see an uncanny resemblance to the ankylosaur, which was a dinosaur that lived in the late Cretaceous. Both have an armoured shell and also a bony club-like tail, which they use for both protection and competition with their own species. Glyptodons are believed to have been very territorial. It often would fight with its own species. Zoologists presume that since the tail of Glyptodon is very flexible and had rings of bony plates, it was used as a weapon in these fights. Experiments have shown that the tail would have been strong enough to crack its rival's shell. This animal shared its habitat with some other amazing and deadly animals, but was clearly able to defend itself and thrived within its niche. Its diet comprised of mainly low-hanging, tough vegetation. The lower jaws were very deep and helped support massive chewing muscles to help chew through coarse, fibrous plants. The species survived up until around 10,000 BC. Some evidence suggests that humans drove Glyptodons to extinction. This unfortunately seems to be a running theme of this list. Hunters may have used their shells for shelters in rough weather and used their meat for sustenance. Number 5. The cave hyena. I would like to end this list with an animal which lived a little closer to home, at least for me anyway. The cave hyena, also known as the Iceage spotted hyena, had a territory spanning from the Iberian Peninsula to eastern Siberia. The European cave hyena was much larger than modern hyenas, having been estimated to weigh 102 kg, which is about twice the weight of its African cousin. In late Pleistocene specimens from Europe, the cave hyena's metacarpals and metatarsals are shorter and thicker, while the humerus and femur are longer. This indicates adaptations to a different habitat from that of the modern spotted hyena, as Europe was much colder and more mountainous. As with the African species, female cave hyenas were larger than their male counterparts. Paleolithic rock art depicting the cave hyena shows that it had a pelt that was also spotted, just like modern hyenas. Humans at this time frequented caves a lot for shelter from the harsh European weather, and most certainly would have came into contact with these beasts. This carved sculpture that was created around 20,000 years ago depicts a cave hyena in amazing detail, and must have taken someone months to create. This also could indicate a religious aspect to a relationship with these animals. Many human and animal remains have been found with evidence of cave hyena tooth marks on the bones. It preyed on large mammals, primarily wild horses, steppe bison, and woolly rhinoceros, and would have hunted in a pack similar to that of hyenas today. The cause of the cave hyena's extinction is not fully understood, though it could have been due to a combination of factors, including climate change and competition with other predators. Thanks so much for watching. I really enjoyed coming up with this list and learned a few new things myself as I was researching. I have a lot of ideas for new videos, so another one will be coming soon. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if there's anything important about these animals that I've missed. Hopefully you learned something new today, but if not, thanks for sticking around anyway. Talk to you again soon.